What's going on, Illumineers, and welcome back to the madness. And we've got some excitement because we're talking set 6. We're cooking, boys and girls, because Dreamborn finally has all the cards updated. And I went a little ham when I first saw the cards because I'm excited. And there we have options to test online already with the new cards. So I've gotten some testing in. Some things I'm really excited about, some things I'm not so excited about, but we'll talk about it here in a minute. But let's real quick before we get into it. The giveaway is going to be extended a couple more days. We're not going to hit 1K, but if we hit that 500, then we're going to do some really cool things. So check out the video; it'll be in the description. But let's get cooking, ladies and gentlemen. And first up, what's the meta? This is the most important part for Blue Steel because we really saw this in set 4. In set 4, we saw that with the abundance of red blue, we had to kind of either go one of two directions. We had to add blue or we had to go aggro route. And we saw, of course, Pando take second, running blue in there and beating out some red blue players. And so we just kind of have to make that decision of where we're going to go. And looking at the meta in the next set, some things we really have to watch. The thing we really have to watch out for is blue steel, but also, of course, red blue. Now, with all of the tempo that's coming from blue steel, that early game potential with blue steel into that late game that blue steel has, it might be enough that if it gets popular enough, it shuts down red blue. And that's kind of our hope because red blue, of course, is our Achilles. We're also looking at red purple, bringing in all this burn now thanks to Warp. That's his Discord name. He really made that red purple burn deck popular, and that's really going off right now. So we have to look at that, and then of course there's green purple running the bounce package. So we have to worry about our singers being bounced a whole lot with the Maleficent staff and all the other options that they have. Looking at some of the other stuff, we're probably going to see a lot of aggro. We're probably going to see some blue, yellow kind of ward aggro stuff. So that will be a little difficult because ward, of course, we can't target it with our spell. So that might require some answers for us. But needless to say, Blue SteelSong is at this place where we have this great core, a lot like Red Purple, but outside of that great core that we have, our songs and our singers, we can kind of rearrange stuff however we want. So we're really just waiting to see how the meta develops, what your local meta turns into, and how you want to address that. So just keep that in mind as we talk about these lists and everything. This is before we've gotten any real testing in and just kind of brainstorming. Moving on though, what are some of the new things we've got? Not all of them new, of course, because right down here we see Pridelands, but things to consider when we're building these steel song lists. We have the new Simba, right? You know, if we look up here, we have this guy, and this new Simba offers up a lot of utility because being that 5 cost uninkable, a 4/4, so it doesn't die to Brawl or Medusa. Inks for 2, and then at the end of your turn, if this character is exerted, you may ready all other characters. Really effective shift line, something that we were really excited about. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we start looking at the builds. We have, of course, Daisy, you know, not new, but now we have the Pridelands, something to entertain because of Simba. So you're going to see some deck lists around that. We have our Baloo, of course. We have Gantu, which 5 cost inkable 4/3, quest for 4, and just a vanilla quest for 4. How so? You're gonna see I'm forcing this into a lot of the lists because I think it can be really effective, and we won't know until we try it. The new Lilo, right, where it's a 1/2/2, where you can play it from your discard for paying 2 ink. But with that being said, if you're running this Pridelands version, it's only going to cost 1 ink to get that out if you have Pridelands activated. So there's a lot of good opportunities there. And then finally, one of the songs we got, "I'm Still Here," is the 3 cost inkable song. When you sing it, you get to draw a card and give a character +2 resist. So if you have a Cindy down, then you can now for example, a play might be Cindy on turn 1, Simba on turn 2, Shift Simba on turn 3, and then you use Cindy to sing "I'm Still Here" to give Simba +2 resist, and then you sing "Wheel" with Simba. It readies your Cinderella, and your Simba is now effectively a 4/6. So that can be really effective. That can be a really good play to protect your Simba and then next turn off of wheel, you start playing all these low cost characters. So there's options. Next up, we have shift lines. What did we get? Things to consider, of course, we have the Simba. We still have our boy Robin Hood. We have Kita, which is seeing a lot of work in the aggro lines, which is a shift line that I'm really starting to enjoy. We have the Queen package, which if really good into red blue, really good into red purple, and it's also has a lot of opportunity. We'll talk about it in another build list because of the new Pluto. We have Naveen. This goes in the world of like Dingle Hopper, right? Of just unplayable cards. Like, let me play a shift line that dies to brawl. And like I just don't understand. It's cool that it has bodyguard, but moving on, yeah. And then we have Jim Hawkins, which is an interesting idea because if you play the Jim Hawkins shift line, this effectively lets you kill a castle in one turn. And that could be really cool. If you play a whole lot of red purple in your meta, then the Jim Hawkins shift line may be an opportunity for you because you play Jim Hawkins on turn 2, turn 3 you ink. So now Jim Hawkins gets challenger +2. Then you shift Jim Hawkins, and now Jim Hawkins it effectively has 7 damage, and it can kill a castle, which is kind of cool. So that is an opportunity there. It is uninkable, which we'll talk about the uninkable with Simba and why that's actually a big deal. But he's a 5/5 body, and that's a lot. Like that offers you a lot of utility. Because it doesn't even die to Fox. Like they're gonna have to send 2 creatures into it or a Maui, and then the Maui dies. So Jim Hawkins is a very interesting opportunity. Something I will test. I don't have any builds with it today, but it can just be interchangeable with some of these other shift lines. So oh, Prince Naveen. Anyways, so what are the archetypes? What are some of the things I'm going to talk about? We have a Pridelands. I like to call it a pseudo OTK because you're trying to do that Stitch thing where you get all these cards down and then you quest for a whole bunch next turn. We have our age-old control variant, which is the SteelSong that we all know and love. We have the aggro line, thanks to Boomy, and of course the no shift line that we've been playing with for a long time, trying to really get going, not worry about the shift line. And we'll look at that because so far the no shift line. Well, let's talk about it. So first up, we have the no shift line, and this of course is going to look really familiar because it's really close to Wochuk's version, except I've added some set 6 and then I've made a couple adaptations as well. And a couple things while playing this so far and testing it, there's been a couple things that I've really liked. I've really liked just the consistency of playing these cards. Now, Wochuk's version does run the 2 Nalas because he just wants the extra 1 drops. It powers Strength of a Raging Fire. It just gives you that extra early lore. It gives you Rapunzel targets. But I've cut those to add in another 5 drop and another Zeus. And the reason for that is because of Blue Steel. Blue Steel they're going very tempo this set so far. And this lets us, an Ursula on turn 2, lets us answer Jim Hawkins on their turn 2. So right now, Blue Steel can kill our Daisy. And that was one of their biggest weaknesses is they had no way to deal with our 4-cost card or our 4 willpower cards. So by going Ursula, we can now do something like Daisy on turn 1, Ursula on turn 2, seeing Zeus on turn 3, and effectively kill one of their best cards. And it also answers the Jim Hawkins shift line if they go that route. So I've opted to up the Zeuses there. You'll see the Gastons. I've completely cut Naveen's. I don't remember if Wochuk was even running Naveen's. I don't think he was. But in this version, I also have the Plutos. And I'm a really big fan of Pluto because he's a 5/5. Like, for your opponent to kill him, they have to trade in 2 characters or lose their Maui, for example. And that's really effective. Lose the Maui, lose the Fox. But to lose the Fox, I have to have a Crab and a Fox. And so Pluto just offers up a whole lot of opportunities to be able to protect all of your people and let these guys kind of go to town questing while you have this huge 5/5 body protecting them. And then Gaston, I just like what this guy offers. He's not he's of course not guaranteed to quest for 4, but he's really hard to get rid of. And to get rid of before he quests for 4. And then even when he does quest for 4, it's 4 attacks, so it's hard to trade into. Like it's most likely going to be a 1-for-1 trade, if not more, because they have to answer it. So, or I think I'm saying Gaston Gantu, but they have to answer it. They can't let you keep a guy that quests for 4. So I think this is just an opportunity because I don't think we have to run Chinpo because we have Pluto. He's not quite as powerful as um, Chinpo, but I think it's just an opportunity. And that questing for 4 is just so massive to help close the game out. They essentially have to have a Maleficent Dragon if you're playing against Red Blue, B Prep, whatever it may be. So I think it's just a good opportunity there. And of course, because of this, we're going down to 16 songs because we're not running the bare necessities or anything. So there is a world where maybe you can cut one Pluto and something else. One other thing, maybe a Gantu, maybe you cut one Pluto, one Gantu, and you add 2 of the either bare necessities or you add 2 of the resist +2 draw card, which I think could be an opportunity as well. But so far, this no shift line has felt really, really good. I felt really just good playing it. And we're looking at uninkables. We got 4, 8, 12, 16 uninkables, which is pretty good for a SteelSong list. I'd say that's really good actually. So moving on though, we have three different Pridelands decks. So this first one is it's going to look very familiar because both of them actually look a lot like Brandon I'm gonna say DeCandio's version. Sorry if I got your first name wrong, man. But um, the idea here is that now that we're running Simba, um, I've come to realize that running just for Simba is not enough to play Simba. And out of the playtesting that I've done, if you don't have the baby Simba, this big Simba is almost death. Because now you have Big Simba and Whole New World, 2 5-cost uninkable cards that you can't play. And that just feels awful. That feels like death. That feels like you lost the game on turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, depending on what you're drawing. And so you have to, if you're going to run Simba, you have to run more than one Simba. I think that's the only way that you play the big Simba. I was looking at DeCandio's list, and DeCandio's list is already running the 8 Simbas because you want to be able to play the Pridelands. So the idea here is that you play a Simba on turn 1 or a Stitch on turn 1 because I think Stitch also I can't tell. I don't know if he does, but we definitely know that the Simbas do. So Simbas activate Pridelands. So you play Pridelands on turn 1 and then turn 2 um turn 2 you use you play Pridelands on turn 2, you move the Simbas there and on turn 3, and essentially you just start trying to pop off. And that's the whole idea. You have Stitch because Stitch lets you, of course, you play this Stitch, maybe you can shift it, and it quests, not only does it quest for 3, but then you can also start spamming these characters to draw. And then I've thrown the Lilo in because if you already have something on Pridelands, now you can play Lilo for 1, and playing a 1 cost quest for 2 is pretty effective. Like it feels pretty good. And this is just something different. We have 3 different shift lines to Seeing Whole New World. So this version, I did opt to cut Doc. I know DeCandio was a really big fan of Doc, but I just think that with this many shift lines, with 2 5-cost shift lines, there's a world where we don't really need Doc because we're also running 4 Rapunzels now, and he was only running 2 Rapunzels. So interested to try this. I haven't played it at all yet, but we will give it a try. And then the next one, of course, is more. Again, I cut the docs out of this. This is more of a song version, and the next one will be a song version as well. I keep saying doc. If you wanted to run doc again, cut the Lilos for the docs. But the problem with that is if you do that, you will go to 20 uninkables. So just be aware of that. But this version, this is kind of a song version. So we kind of combined some of Boomy stuff, some of Wochuk stuff, DeCandio stuff, and we went with a more song variant. So we have the Cinderellas in here to protect your low cost characters. So it slows down this whole OTK kind of thing, but it still gives you that idea of kind of control, play a bunch of characters down. They get resist from Pridelands. You gain that one passive lore per turn. So this could be something as well. As far as on inkables, we got 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 14, 18 on inkables. So for some people that might be a little high, but when you have so many one drops, might not be a huge deal. You have Stitch for the draw, Let the Storm Rage On for the draw, Whole New World for the draw. So it might not be too bad. Again, I haven't tried these Pridelands versions yet. I just haven't had enough time to get really testing. But another effective option that you can play with. And then finally, this is from, I'm going to say Richter, Stephen Richter. He posted this today in the 20 lore page. And I just thought it was interesting. We kind of talked about it already, but he posted this um, and it's very similar to what I had below. But he's running he's running a few more songs, and he's also running the aerials. So you lose a lot of the aggro, right? There's only three Lilos, three Piglets, two Smees, and that's how he made room for the four aerials. Um, but just more of a song package, which I thought was interesting that you could entertain because then you have I'm Still Here. So if you play I'm Still Here, pretty much anything on Pridelands is indestructible as far as challenging goes. And I just thought it was an interesting build. More songs. You could possibly remove the two bare necessities and throw in the two Smees to get those back. And I think that would be a good place. I don't know if you need this many because here you're at 4, 8. You're at 16 songs here, so you can go to 18 songs. Um, but yeah, I like it. I think it was good. I thought it was worth highlighting. Keep it up, man. So next up, we have Queen Song. This is going back to kind of what we were doing last set. Uh, After Simba wasn't working out so great, because I think Simba has to have his own deck built around him, I started brainstorming other things. And with the Pluto, it offers up a really good opportunity to play queen. So we could go queen on one, Smee on two, shift queen on three, maybe, and then play Pluto on four. And that lets us protect our stuff. And that could be really effective because one of the queen's biggest weaknesses is that she dies so easily. But now with now with Pluto, she's protected a turn earlier, whereas before we would have needed Chinpo or Baloo or something like that. So, and then of course we have I'm Still Here. Only the one Gantu. Um, so there's the option to kind of get another one thrown in there. Maybe you cut something else, but yeah. And then we have the aerials for the song package, the four Vanessas for the four Zeuses, and of course you might be able to just cut that down for a second Gantu because you do have the queens for that option. So sorry, my one of the wiener dogs is rummaging. So next up, we have the aggro song, Boomy, right? And not a lot changed here. The only thing really is we have the Simbas thrown in, but I kind of talked about it at the beginning. I built this one before I built before I was playtesting Simba. If this is going to be the way to go, then I think you have to cut the two Baloos to throw in two of the bodyguard Simbas. Um, or the 1-4 Simbas is another option. And I say this because 4 baby Simbas is just not enough for the shift line Simba. So I think this still works. I entertained the idea of replacing Sven with Pluto, but Sven is just way too strong at everything he does. He keeps your Smees alive an extra turn. He can just he's just capable of doing so many different things, and I just don't think there's a world where we want to cut Sven. And he's kind of the sleeper of the deck. Like if people haven't realized just how powerful he is, he's really effective. But that would be my only change with this is I would cut the two Baloos for two more Simbas to run 6 Simbas at least. And I think this is still going to be really effective, and still do the aggro stuff. And then this is the first thing that I was running when I realized that the Simbas just aren't going to cut it on their own. This is kind of the more control variant. It's a lot like the Queen Song version, of course, but if you're gonna do this, then you have to cut and make at least two more Simbas. So maybe you cut a Lawrence and a Vanessa, and you run the two more Simbas. Because if you run the 1-4s, they kind of do the same thing as Nala, right? It just quests for one, and it's hard to kill, as well as giving you a good Rapunzel target. So I think if you were to do that, I would cut and make room for at least 2 of the new 1/4 Simbas. So, with that being said, these are all the lists. The one I'm most excited for, the no shift line and kind of this Pridelands stuff, or what I'm going to be really testing hard to start. I do think there's a lot of room for the Queen package, but um, I think I still, I'm probably biased because I'm a SteelSong player, but I still think because of how powerful songs are, I still believe that SteelSong is still going to be up there, still going to be able to win you, get you to day 2, when you let it go, when you set champs. And we're at a place right now where red blue, there may be enough to kick red blue out of being such a dominant force because of how much tempo there is. And if all these decks keep getting more tempo, or if we keep seeing more aggro or this ward type aggro, then it makes red blue harder to play and less of an auto win. And the less people play red blue, the better Steel Song will always, always, always get, because it's so good into all of the randomness, and it's just a good, effective deck that has a really good high roll potential and a lot of really good opportunities. So, with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is there something that you're cooking that you want to share? Feel free to hit me up on Discord, and the link's down in the description. Find me on 20 Lore. I'd love to talk about it, put it on the next video maybe as we get more testing in. And let me know, what are you excited about? What do you think was a big letdown? We didn't get any more damage songs. That's okay. They're coming, guys. Don't worry. I will tell you, I was really hoping for a Singer 6 card for Naveen to make more sense, but it's coming. Don't worry. I'm sure one day. But let me know, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know, are we way off? Are we doing the wrong thing here with Steel Song? And hey, that's all we got. So remember, guys, stay happy and healthy. We have another video. We got an interview with Pando, the guy who took second at Seattle, the gentleman who took second at Seattle. That's going to be going up tomorrow. So make sure you guys check that out. That man is a phenomenal person for this community. One of the nicest people that I've met in Lorcana so far. So until next time, everyone, stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you around.